Picture this, 2005. You're lost in a new city. You pull over, unfold a paper map the size of a beach towel, and argue with your passenger about which way is north. Now picture 2025. You say 4 words out loud, and a voice tells you to turn left in 400 meters. Nothing about human nature changed in those 20 years. But almost everything about human behavior did. And the reason fits in your pocket. This is the story of how a single device rewired civilization. Before 2007, your phone called people. Your camera took pictures. Your map was paper. Your radio played music. Your bank was a building. Your encyclopedia was 32 volumes on a shelf. The smartphone didn't invent any of these things. What it did was something quieter and more radical. It merged them into a single object, connected to a single network, that you carried everywhere, all the time. That last part matters more than people realize. It's not just that the internet got portable. It's that a computer became intimate. It slept next to your bed. It was the first thing you touched in the morning and the last thing you touched at night. No previous technology, not the television, not even the personal computer, had the kind of physical closeness to billions of individual human lives. For most of history, information traveled at the speed of a horse, then a train, then a wire. Now it travels at the speed of light, to nearly every human being on Earth, simultaneously. A farmer in rural Kenya can check crop prices in real time instead of trusting a middleman. A student in a village with no library can access more information on a 5-year-old hand-me-down phone than existed in the Library of Alexandria. A protest in one country can be organized, documented, and broadcast to the world before the sun sets. Smartphones didn't just connect people who were already connected. They connected people who had never been connected. An estimated majority of the human population gained access to the internet primarily through a phone, never a desktop computer at all. For huge parts of the world, the smartphone wasn't an upgrade. It was the first connection, full stop. Entire industries now exist that simply could not exist without a device that is location-aware, camera-equipped, and always online. Ride-hailing. Food delivery. Mobile banking that brought hundreds of millions of previously unbanked people into the financial system, no branch, no paperwork, just a SIM card and a phone. Live stream commerce. The gig economy itself, in its modern form, runs on an app in a pocket. And it flows both ways. The smartphone didn't just create new jobs, it created new economic behavior. Impulse purchases happen in the time it takes to scroll past an ad. Entire markets shifted their advertising, their customer service, their very design language around a 6-inch touchscreen. Here's where the story gets more complicated. The smartphone runs on your attention the way a car runs on gasoline. Every app on it is, in some sense, competing for the same finite resource, the hours of your day. And the tools built to win that competition, notifications, infinite scroll, algorithmic feeds, are some of the most sophisticated persuasion technology ever built. The average person checks their phone dozens of times a day. Some studies suggest well over 100. That's not really a personal failing. It's the predictable outcome of putting a global attention capture machine within arm's reach of a species that evolved to respond to novelty and social signals. This has reshaped how we read, shorter, faster, more skimmed. How we socialize, more mediated, more asynchronous, more performative. How children grow up. A generation is now the first in history to go through adolescence with a portal to the entire internet in their bedroom. Researchers are still working out the full effects, and reasonable people disagree about how large they are. But almost no one disputes that something about the texture of daily attention has changed. A phone with a camera turns every witness into a broadcaster. Movements that once needed weeks to organize now start with a hashtag. Injustices that once stayed local now go global in hours. Ordinary people have documented events that changed laws, toppled narratives, and held power accountable in ways that simply weren't possible before. But the same device that empowers also exposes. The smartphone knows where you are, who you talk to, what you buy, what you search for at 2 a.m. That data trail is a resource, for advertisers, for corporations, and in some places, for governments watching their own citizens. The tool of liberation and the tool of surveillance turned out to be the same tool. Beyond the visible changes, the smartphone became the quiet infrastructure underneath modern life. It's the last mile of the pandemic response, vaccine appointments, contact tracing, remote work. It's the emergency line in a natural disaster, the flashlight in a blackout, the translator in a foreign country, the doctor's waiting room via video call for people hours from the nearest clinic. It became, in a sense, a universal utility, closer in function to electricity or running water than to a gadget. So, did smartphones change civilization? Wrong question, maybe. The better question is there any part of civilization they didn't touch? Commerce, politics, romance, education, war reporting, disaster response, childhood itself, the device in your pocket has a hand in almost all of it. 20 years ago we merged a phone, a camera, a map, and a library into one object and gave it to most of humanity. We're still finding out what that means.